Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Discovery Channel. I'm O'Connor here, hopefully still dry. New Orleans, Louisiana. We're off to the east of Hurricane Harvey, which is affecting our friends over in Texas, and we hope you're all secured and safe over there. I'm with Andy Adkins, the CIO of Social Evidence, who is over in northern Florida.
Good morning.
Hi, Andy. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Great. Hey, we wanted to talk. I had reached out to you because of a court decision that came down earlier this week in the third appellate district. I'm not sure I'm saying that exactly properly, but state of appeals court in Florida, which I guess is the Greater Miami area. And I apologize for my cough. I returned from ILTA in Las Vegas earlier this week with all my money intact, but a terrible headache. I paid the price one way or the other. But the decision in the case of, and I'm hoping I'll pronounce this correctly, Hursain and Hursain, or the law firm of Hursain and Hursain versus USAA, was a decision about friending of a judge in Facebook, which has been a bit of a bone of contention. I've spoken on this in a number of CLEs. The Florida, and you would probably know the answer to this, State Judicial Ethics Committee. I'm not sure if that's a wing of the Bar Association or not.
I'm not sure either, but yeah, I'm aware of it.
Several years ago, I think going back to like 2010, they had issued an opinion that stated that judges should not friend people attorneys who can appear in court in front of them, which I thought was a very short-sighted, and B, also didn't understand the definition of the word friend in the Facebook universe. That opinion had been upheld in 2012 by a state appellate court in Palm Beach, but this week in the Hursain decision was specifically not upheld, was overturned with some pretty strong language to the effect of that's not what friend means in Facebook, and I think it was Judge, and again I'll hope I pronounce his name right, Logue, Logue, wrote the opinion for a unanimous court in the decision, saying these days in the Facebook world, people friend hundreds, if not thousands, of people who they may know socially or through the business world or hardly at all. It certainly doesn't show any, in the court's opinion, any prejudice. So I thought, being a Florida resident, long time active in legal technology in Florida, and of course heading up Social Evidence, which is a product designed to grab things off of the Facebook world. You have some opinions about this, so what was your take on it?
Well, it was an interesting article to read. I appreciate you sending it my way. And we always try to look at things, from different perspectives. I truly believe, as I mentioned earlier, that judges are lawyers first, and they grow up with these lawyers, and in the culture and in the world in the legal profession, they're friends. And then judges, they run for office, and they become a judge, but they're still friends with these people that they've known for years. I think you are absolutely right that the definition of friend on Facebook is totally different than what our social consciousness is for the definition of a friend. I mean, I've been on Facebook since 2008, I think, several years after they started. But I've got friends that are my friends, good friends. I've got some friends that I've known as acquaintance. I will tell you that we just had our 45th high school reunion. And I am friends with a lot of my classmates, and I have not seen any of them since we graduated in 1972. But I could immediately spot them because we were friends on Facebook. And the thing about the social media environment is it helps you see what other people that you knew earlier years and what their life is like now. And it's not much different than what my life is. You know, we have kids, we have grandkids, you know, we're professionals, we're in our careers, we're looking at retirement sometime in the next few years. You know, this is what the social media is all about. Now, granted, when a judge friends an attorney, I think one of the things that you have to be really careful about is the timing of that. Especially when you're in a large metropolitan environment. You've got lots of friends. But if you have a case that is coming up in court and you friend that judge right before that case, you know, that could possibly be a bone of contention. Could be a problem, a conflict. But if you've been friends for years and then that person comes up in your court, then, you know, you've got to make some decisions right there. Fortunately, Facebook offers you a really quick, easy way out of that. You can still remain friends on Facebook, but they offer a button. It's real simple, drop down out of the settings, called unfollow. And all that does is means that you're still, quote, friends on Facebook, but you will not see their timeline feeds. They will not see your timeline feeds until the case is done, and then you can become friends again and follow them. So, you know, this whole contention of what a friend is on Facebook and in social media, I think a lot of people just kind of need to look at that and see what the technology is and how you can work through some of those issues.
And yeah, that's a great point. But you also made a point that I had thought of the other day, and that's that you mentioned big cities and then your high school reunion. So it's one thing if you're a federal judge in Miami or Dallas or New York or Philadelphia, name a big city. But if you're a state court judge in St. Martinville, Louisiana, in Opelousas, or I just accepted an invitation to speak at the local bar association in Nacogdoches, Louisiana, yep. Right? Well, yep. You know where Nacogdoches is?
I've heard of it, yep.
Yeah. You know, it is extremely unlikely that a state court or a local judge in a town like that would not know everybody who might interfere.
Exactly.
Right? Because they probably did go to high school together.
Sure.
And even if he went away to college and came back, I mean, local small town America is local small town America. And, I think, but your point's a good one. That being friends with someone on Facebook doesn't mean friendship.
Exactly.
Certainly doesn't mean undue influence. And if one party feels that there is a case for that, they always have motion practice to bring that up. In fact, in the Hussein case, that's exactly how it percolated through the courts. Apparently, a former judge was retained as counsel for one of the defense parties, and so somebody raised an objection. Former judge knows the current judge. The judge should disqualify herself. The appeals court clearly felt that was tenuous at best. So, and then it also kind of begs the question, doesn't it, that people can use products like yours to monitor what's going on?
Sure. Well, I hesitate using the term monitoring because that brings in connotations that you're automatically pulling stuff.
Right.
You know, and
right.
So our system is basically it's targeted accounts. You know, in fact, if you're a client, then I want to see what's the social responsibility and liabilities on your Facebook page. So I'm going to ask you for your credentials, or we have the ability where we don't even know those. You'll just give us approval electronically, and we collect the data off your Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
Right.
And then that gives the attorney the ability to kind of look through, like, yeah, this could be a possible issue, or, you know, we don't have any problem, nothing to worry about. I do want to point out something though. In this article, I think there was an opinion by an ethics professor saying that judges should not be on Facebook or social media at all. And you know, the thing to me, I see that is like judges need to know. I mean, we're seeing a high volume of family law, criminal law, labor and employment, workers' comp, PI. Those are the main target areas for social media in legal matters. And we're seeing a lot of cases that involve some sort of social media. So a judge who is not familiar with the terms or with the culture of social media, I think that's a that's a disadvantage to being a judge. I think that they need to know and understand. Does that mean they have to be active on all of these social medias? No.
Right.
I think, but if they have a Facebook account, and if they have, like me, I've got kids, that's one way I keep up with them and with my friends, then you kind of get an idea of what the culture is of social media. And you've got to understand that in order to be able to rule on a case.
And that raises another interesting point. If you don't understand that, and a piece of evidence is introduced that comes off of a social media page, how do you understand what it's all about to rule in an intelligent manner about whether it should be admitted or not? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's part of our culture now. Gail and I had this discussion yesterday. The wonderful, the vivacious Gail O'Connor and I were talking about the impact of social media, and that so many people still think it's, if not a fad, certainly just a little sort of passing technological fancy, when in fact it's the method of communication for a variety of people in a variety of different ways nowadays. To say that you couldn't have something to do with social media, to my mind, is like saying you can't watch TV or you can't have a cell phone. It's part of culture now, and I think you're right. Judges do it before they're on the bench. They're going to do it while they're on the bench. And there's always been a standard of judges should not do anything which is improper or has the appearance of impropriety. I don't see why that standard isn't still good enough for us. But it's interesting. It's interesting that the perception of social media as being this sort of off to the side little, I don't know, weird offshoot of society, that's not in fact what the reality of it is.
No, there are, you know as well as I do, there's all kinds of studies and statistics about the age, the gender, the education, the careers, and who's on what type of social media. We know that LinkedIn is primarily professional people, but again, in lawsuits, a lot of times people will fluff up their resumes or their LinkedIn page. On Facebook, it's more of a social website, and people are looking at trying to have a feel-good experience.
Yeah.
One of the studies I've seen recently, which really brought it home, is that when people are posting a lot of the memes and a lot of the inspirational memes, it could be that they are looking for affirmation, which could mean that they are depressed at that particular time.
Interesting.
And well, this is something that psychologists are studying.
Sure.
On the other hand, we know well that when you're in a divorce and you are no longer, quote, friends with your spouse on Facebook, and you are posting pictures of your new digs or your new car or your new girlfriend or boyfriend, and yet they think that that's private. And so that comes up in family law cases all the time. We just see more and more of this, and people are using social media in a lot of ways. And you and I have this conversation all the time. A lot of people are idiots. They'll commit a crime, they'll do something, and they'll post it on Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you, I think earlier, down in South Florida, we were talking with state attorneys, and one of the things that they brought up, will your system be able to convert music or lyrics to text? And I say, well, that's on the table. Yes, we're planning on doing that. And he says, well, we have some juvenile delinquents that commit a crime and then they rap about it and put that on Facebook. And Tom, I'm from old school, and stuff like that just kind of blows me away. But we see it all the time. I mean, it's prominent in the lawsuits. It's not going to end. It's only going to get more interesting.
Good friend of mine is younger than me. I was going to say a young lawyer, but they're all young to me. So I don't know anybody. I don't know that I know an old lawyer anymore.
No.
But he's the clerk, the administrator of the juvenile court in not Orleans Parish, but one of our local parishes. I won't say anything because I don't want to somehow get him in trouble for talking about Facebook. But they had a defendant, a juvenile, recently, who the judge had the hearing, ruled on it, let the person go on probation. The young man walked out and on the steps of the courthouse lit up a joint and started filming himself talking about what a so-and-so the judge was. And I got over on her and posted. I mean, he's literally still on the courthouse property, and he's doing this. And of course, somebody saw it like within the hour. Somebody saw it, and the judge said, why don't you go get that young man and bring him back in here? I think we need to discuss A, his attitude, and B, his relative technological stupidity. Does he think we don't look at this stuff? But you're right. Hey, one last quick question on the article, though, that I wanted to, you talked about some of the experts who were quoted. One person was also quoted as saying, we don't tend to see older judges on social media. I disagree with that. I don't find that it's an age factor. I find that some people get technology and some people don't. And age is obviously can be a factor because we all know the stories of people who love their yellow pad and only want to see it in writing. But I equally find a number of older attorneys, like myself, who get technology.
Sure.
Your experience?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is not driven by your career. A lot of it is driven by family and culture and social. Like I said, my high school reunion, the fact that I'm a grandfather, and all of those things. There's no difference between us and judges our age. Some of them just don't want to have any involvement in it because they may not be comfortable with technology or they may have had a bad experience.
Right.
I mean, you and I both know someone who is probably the most technologically capable forensic investigator in Virginia that does not have a Facebook page. and he knows why. I mean, I think he said Facebook is the worst. Right. Because he, as a forensic investigator, he uncovers a lot of stuff.
Right.
So it's not necessarily an age-related thing.
Yeah. Good.
But keep in mind also, our kids and our kids' kids, they're growing up in a world that's never not had social media. Yes.
Yes. And a lot of other things. I was having that discussion with my son, Seamus. You know Seamus.
Yep.
And of course, he's in his late 20s now, so he's not even a kid anymore. But Seamus grew up in a world. The question was, somebody put this on Facebook. Talk to your children about something you had that they may not understand.
Yeah.
You had growing up, and I'm thinking, wow, rotary dial phones, radio. I grew up in rural Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have a television until I was 7 or 8.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it was all radio. I honestly don't remember having a car when I was there. We may have, but I don't remember one till we got older. The number of things, but 24-hour cable TV, and we all bow our head to Al Gore, the World Wide Web.
I use that all.
It's
all
a world
time.
that they take this sort of technology for granted. We had a power outage down here the other day, just to show. We have them all the time. As you're familiar, big thunderstorms, high winds, and I have a UPS on my computer, and I also have my cable box plugged into it, and my cable modem. And so Seamus came upstairs from his room and said, "Hey, the power was out for a little while, but I don't get it. My internet was on." And I said, "Oh yeah, well I've got the cable modem plugged into a box." I said, "Was everything okay?" And he kind of shrugged and said, "As long as the internet was on, I really didn't care."
Yep, that's the generation.
So last question, Andy, we'll wrap this up. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I will. When can we expect to see social evidence? We getting close? Because we're all champing a bit.
Yeah, we are getting close. We're fine-tuning it. We're actually in beta testing now.
Great.
We're getting great feedback, and when you go through a software development and you're beta testing, your initial testers really give you that first impression. So the usability is really good. We need to tweak it a little bit. The searching and collecting capabilities are very powerful. And so the back end, the reporting pieces, we're trying to, fine tune and tweak. So, it will definitely be before the end of the year.
Right.
Everybody's asking that question, but then they're also saying, well, can you add this? And can you add this? I mean,
Yeah.
so, the scope is changing. And, my job is to try to figure out and prioritize those things. And, we'll launch, but we're also, because we're cloud-based, we continue to develop this thing. It will never end. And we've got a lot of things that are going to be so advanced. And I'm not blowing smoke. I mean, we're working with some really sharp guys at a group called IHMC, and they are helping us develop some very advanced technologies, because social media is not just emails and documents. It's a whole culture of its own. And there's all kinds of analytics that just really don't exist right now. And I keep telling my board, we are inventing legal analytics for social media because it doesn't exist right now.
Good point.
Yeah. I mean, give you an example, just a real quick example, and I'm done.
Sure.
When we talk about proximity searching, you typically are looking within a single document or a single email. Well, when you're on social media, that proximity is not necessarily tied to a single data element. That could be across multiple elements. When you take a photograph on your smartphone and you use Instagram to post it, you can also post that same photograph on 4 different devices. 4 different platforms, which includes Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr. So that proximity is no longer within a particular data element. Now it's spread across multiple platforms. And I'll kind of leave it from there because I probably said a little bit more than I should.
Well, no, I know exactly what you mean, because I have my Twitter account set up that when I post something, it goes on to Facebook. Likewise, when I do something on LinkedIn, it goes to Facebook and Twitter. I know about that interdependence. So you're exactly right. It's a great way to look at it. There's interdependent links for everything that are it's a whole different way of looking at documents. Judge Rosenthal over in Texas had a quote several years ago where she said, she was the chair of the Rules Committee a number of years back, and she said, we have to change the paradigm of the way we think and how we work, and that electronic documents are a different breed than paper documents, and so we have to adjust our thinking. And she said the bench and the bar, which is right on line with what we're talking about here. So.
That's right. You got to know it. You got to live in it to understand it.
So on that note, I'll refer everybody to your webpage. It is socialevidence.com.
It's social-evidence.com.
Okay.
Yep.
And I know that Gail works hard to get a lot of material up on there. So as far as resources on what's going on in this field, that's a great place to look. I was quite happy to say, however, that I found the Hussein case before she did.
Yeah.
Which was, trust me, a major accomplishment.
Yeah, I hear you.
Andy, always a pleasure talking to you, my friend. Once
here.
again, we've been talking with Andy Adkins, the CIO of Social Evidence, which is a great piece of software that's going to be coming to your neighborhood soon. Keep your eyes open for it, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it once you get it released and out the door.
Great. Thanks so much, Tom. Great to talk to you again.
My pleasure. Have a good one, and thank you so much, folks. We'll see you next time on the eDiscovery channel.